Oh, is that noise? Yeah. Yeah, it's noise. Yeah, basically, whatever. Baruch Hashem, I have noise canceling headphones, and I'm not getting chiyushuli. So it's I'll be just fine. My neighbor is usually not around, but he came back recently. He did the same thing. Maybe remember last year. I think that was before I had noise canceling headphones, and before we started learning BavaBasra. So I didn't yet have the mechanism of Amanaskin and Chayashuli Solas. So he's bringing like his whole family. So they're a rowdy bunch, and it's been a little noisy. But Amanaskin and Chayashuli Solas. And welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Pei Aleph, Daf 81 of Masechta BavaBasra, friends. Okay, what are we doing over here? Okay. Why not? Okay. What am I tell you? A new Mishnah. Alright. Okay. Oh, Givaldig. Okay, this is Givaldig stuff. The reason why it's so Givaldig is only because, primarily, in my mind, is because it's been, this is something that's been coming up since, I don't even remember, maybe Layachpor. Okay, earlier in the Masechta, we've been having this concept of somebody who buys 3 trees, so then he's kind of the karke oichet. Wait, 1 second. Sorry about. So he's oichet, kind of the karke, and then, but only 2 trees, then he's not. And there's that whole Indian. So this is the Mishnah. I think this is Betzim. This is where it's from. So this is, oh my gosh. So this is, So I for that reason, that's why I'm excited. Aside from the fact that it's the Eibishter's Torah, so we're always excited for the Eibishter's Torah, but the relevance piece over here is this. Okay, so here we go. That Pei Aleph Med Aleph, 3 lines into the Amud, it says the Mishnah, Hakoine Shnei Ilonis Besoch Stei Chaveroi. Okay, so if Shimon has a field, and on his field there are a bunch of trees, and Ruvain purchases 2 trees. Mamash Gaval. Okay, so Shimon's got a field with a bunch of trees on it. Ruvain purchases 2 trees. Okay. So if Ruvain purchases 2 of Shimon's trees, Harei ze lokana karke. So this does not include any property. Wait 1 second. Let me check something. Okay. So this does not include any. It doesn't include any property. Reuben is just mamish buying the trees. 2 trees, azoy. That's it. No property, none of the land beneath, around, between, nisht. Okay, so no land. Reb Meir hat gesagt, kona karke. He is kona karke. He is kona the karke beneath, around, between them. I imagine all of that. Higdilu lo yishafe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word right. Am I pronouncing that word right? How do I pronounce it? Yeah. Higdilu yishape. Okay. So Higdilu lo yishape. Right. So if the now these trees, so we're talking about 2 trees. The Chacham say if Reuven buys 2 trees, he only has those 2 trees. He doesn't have any land, which means Memele, all the land is still Shimon's. Now, if Reuven's trees grow and now they have branches, and the branches are extending over the other parts of Shimon's field, and Shimon says, "Wait, this is too much shade. I want to trim the branches." He's not allowed to, because since how did those branches grow? Well, the branches grew because the tree is rooted in the ground, and the ground is providing the tree with what it needs for the branches to grow. So be'etzim, it's Shimon's fault in a certain sense that these branches grew so much. So it's like, Reuven owns these trees. Shimon now wants to cut back the branches. He can't cut back the branches. After all, it's his land that caused these branches to grow. So he's got to live with it. He's got to live with the consequences of his land. Va'ole min ageza shelo, that which the tree produces from the trunk upwards belongs to Reuven, the owner of the tree. And from the roots, I believe that means essentially anything underground would belong to Shimon. Oh my gosh, this is bad news. Okay, fine. And if Reuven's trees die, that's it. That's the end. Because Reuven doesn't own any of the land. So it's not like, well, I own this land, I could plant another tree on the land. He doesn't own anything. All he owns is the tree. The tree is gestorben, went to firewood. So then, so done. Alright. Now, Kana Shlosha, however, if Reuven acquired 3 trees, Kana Karke. So it's Kana the Karke, beneath the trees, between the trees, around the trees. Higdilu Yishape, if the branches now grew on the trees and they're extending over, other parts of Shimon's field, so he wants to cut down cut back those branches, he can. Because Reuven owns the property, owns the karka that the trees are getting their nutrition from, being nurtured from, and it's Reuven's land that is nurturing these trees which to grow their branches, which are now extending over Shimon's field, so Shimon can cut them back. He's saying, hey, control your trees. And what comes from the above the trunk as well as below the trunk, right below ground, it's all Reuven's because he owns the trees and the property, that the relevant parts of the property. And if in this scenario, when Reuven buys 3 trees, if they die, he could replant new ones because he owns the property beneath the trees. Okay, and therefore he owns that property. He can replant another tree if one goes to firewood. All right. Tanan Osam says the Gemara. We learn in Bikurim. We learn in a Mishnah in Bikurim. Hakodesh Shnei Ilonis. If somebody buys 2 trees, Reuven buys 2 trees, right? Reuven buys 2 of Shimon's trees on Shimon's land. Maybe ve'eno kare. So, if Reuven now, so let's say they're olive trees, okay? Olives are shaykh to Bikurim. So Reuven buys 2 olive trees from Shimon. Now, right? It's only 2 trees. So Shimon owns all the property. Reuven only owns the trees, no property. And he has olives, and he wants to bring olives to Yerushalayim as Bikurim. Maybe, okay, so he brings the olives. Ve'eno kore. But he does not do mikra bikurim. He doesn't read the psukim of Arami Ovid Ovi and ve'ata hine evesi as reishis priya adoma shenosatli. He can't say the land that you gave me. He doesn't own the land. Shimon does. So he brings the bikurim, he brings the olives, but he can't say, he doesn't do mikra bikurim because we're going to see at the end, why not exactly? Meaning, why, why not just do it anyways? Like, who cares? It's psukim. Okay, we'll get there at the mamash at the end of the daf. But so he brings the olives to Yerushalayim, but he's not going to do mikra bikurim because he doesn't own the land. Okay, just FYI, what time is it? It's about 7:35 at night. So it's a little late for me. So hopefully I'll be all right. I do plan to get to the end of the daf. So far, I think I'm okay. Hopefully I'll be fine. It shouldn't be the longest daf in the world. Reb Meir says, maybe v'korei. Reb Meir says, of course, he could bring bikurim and do mikra bikurim because, after all, he does own the land that the trees are on. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Now says Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. What Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel Mechayev Reb Meir. Here's an interesting opinion from Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel that Reb Meir would be mechayev av b'leikeach peres. Don't say min hashuk, rather say peres ha'ilon. That so Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel mechayev Reb Meir av b'leikeach peres ha'ilon. You hear this? That Reb Meir would say that you would bring bikurim and do mikra bikurim, even if Reuven doesn't buy even trees, doesn't buy any land, doesn't buy any trees. All he buys is the fruits of the trees. He's just buying the olives. That's it. He's buying olives. He's buying olives. He's buying the rights to the olives from Shimon's field. Doesn't own any trees, doesn't own any land. Says Reb Meir, according to Aviram Shmuel, that Reuven could bring those olives to Yerushalayim and do mikra bikurim. Mimai, how do we know this? How do we know this? Midikatoni Mishnah Yisera. Because the Mishnah in Bikurim is extra. We didn't need to have the Mishnah in Bikurim. Because Michdei, let's see, Tano le diyesh loy karke. Because from the Mishnah here in BavaBasra, in Perkamocher Sasvina, we already know that Reb Meir's opinion is that even if Reuven were to only buy 2 trees, he would already own the land beneath it, between it. So we already know from here, from BavaBasra, that Reb Meir's opinion is that even from 2 trees, he would own the land, and therefore he could do mikra bikurim. So why do I need the Mishnah in Bikurim to repeat that we know that. We know that from the fact that he paskins that he owns the land in Masechta BavaBasra. So pshita de mevi v'kori. Where am I? Pshita de mevi v'kori. So of course, if he owns the land, of course it's going to be mevi v'kori. So rather, why does the Mishnah in Bikurim essentially state the obvious, let's say? It's coming to teach Mechayvoi Reb Meir af b'loikeach peris peris ha'ila. So the chiddush of the Mishnah in Bikurim is that according to Reb Meir, even if he were to only buy Shimon's olives, no trees, no lands, no nothing, he could do mikra. He could bring Bikurim and do mikra Bikurim. That is how Rav Yudah Shmuel learns that Mechayvoi Reb Meir af b'loikeach peris ha'ila. But what about the fact that the pasuk says that by Bikurim it's stuff that you bring from your land? This isn't it's not Reuven's land, it's Shimon's land. Me'artzecha means that we're talking about fruits of Eretz Yisrael, not fruits of not Eretz Yisrael. Okay, but what about the fact that the pasuk Oichid says ad moscha, your land, the mutei ad masakum. Well, it's ad moscha, your land, to the exclusion of land owned by an akum. V'yoksiv ashenosatoli, but it says that you gave to me. Diyavasli zuze v'zabnibu. Yeah, well, what you gave me is money, and I bought the rights to these olives, and now I'm bringing them as bikurim. Alright, fine. So Aviram Shmuel wants to say that according to Reb Meir, even if he simply were to have purchased the rights to the olives, he could bring those olives as bikurim and do mikra bikurim. Mosiv Rabbah, however, Rabbah asks a kasha on Rav Yudah Shmuel. Hakoine ilon echod b'sorch shel chaveru. If Reuven buys only 1 tree in Shimon's property, maybe ve'eno kore, he brings bikurim and he does not do mikra bikurim. The pishaloi kona karka divrei Reb Meir, because this is Reb Meir's opinion. He says that when he buys only 1 tree, if Reuven buys only 1 tree from Shimon, he's not kona karka, and because he's not kona karka, he cannot do mikra bikurim. Maybe ve'eno kore. He brings the bikurim, but he doesn't do mikra bikurim. So here we see, meaning Rav Yudah Shmuel said that even if Reuven just buys the fruits, just the olives, forget about the tree, forget about the land, just the olives, he can do mikra bikurim. What about the fact that he doesn't own any land? We say it's not that doesn't matter. We asked all these kashas to the psukim, we answered them. And yet we have a brisa now that's saying that Reb Meir is saying that if Reuven only buys 1 tree, then he doesn't do mikra bikurim because he doesn't own the land. So we see that actually according to Reb Meir you do have to own the land. So that by just buying the fruits would not be enough Tiyufta, we say it's taka, a good kasha on Rav Yudam Shmuel. What about all those psukim that Rav Yudam that we explained? Tavim Yartzecha, Ad Moscha, etc. So apparently there are other ways that you can learn them out. We will get to them. The Rashbam says we will get to them. I thought we said we were going to get to them. Wait, what? Yeah, I guess we're probably not going to get to them together, but apparently there are other ways that you could dash in those psukim. Okay, fine. Givaldig Omar le Reb Shimon ben Eliakim l'Rab Elazar. Says Reb Shimon ben Eliakim to Rab Elazar, my taima de Reb Meir be'ilan echad. How come when it comes to Reuven buying one tree on Shimon's property, Reb Meir says, maybe ve'eno kore? My taima de Reb Meir be'ilan echad, my taima de Rabbanan b'shnei ilanis. And how come the rabbis say that by two trees, oichit maybe ve'eno kore? Omar lo, and Reb Elazar responds to Reb Shimon ben Eliakim, Darish Arishonim Loi Amru Botam, something that the earlier generations did not explain to Shalini Beis HaMedrash. They asked me in the Beis HaMedrash, Kedei Levai Sheni, to embarrass me? Very interesting response by Reb Elazar, the great Reb Elazar. What do we say about this? Is Reb Elazar ben Pidas? Yes, Reb Elazar ben Pidas, Mistama. What do we say about Reb Elazar ben Pidas? He was the student of. I have to look it up. Was it? With the Gemara, he was a student, not the student, well, maybe the student, but he was the replacement for Rish Lakish after Rish Lakish was gestorben with Rabbi Yochanan, that whole Maisa. I think we said some other very gewaldige things about Rabbi Elazar. Very interesting for him to say, like, you embarrassed me in the Beis HaMedrash. Interesting. So Omar Rabba. It says, Rabbi, my kusha, I don't understand what's the problem over here. Dilma Reb Meir be'ilon echad sapuki misapkule. Rabbanu b'shnei ilonu sapuki misapkulu. Maybe simply, Reb Meir, when it comes to one tree, the Rabbanu when it comes to two trees, they're not sure if bikurim, if there's a chiyuv bikurim. They're not sure if these fruits need to be brought to Yerushalayim. And therefore they say, okay, look, bring the fruits to Yerushalayim, but don't do mikra bikurim. Okay, so like this, you brought them, but don't do mikra bikurim just in case they're not actually bikurim. Umi misapka lei, but is Reb Meir really besofik about one tree? It said pretty clearly in the Brisa that one tree, he's maybe made a korah because he's not kone karka. Says Meir said it pretty clearly that one tree is not kone. There's no suffix there. Ema shemalo kone karka. We'll say maybe he's not kone the karka. Okay, so he's besuffic. Okay, fine. So we want to say that is. So when it comes to maybe ve'enu kore, it's because he's not sure if it has a chiyuv bikurim or not, so he brings the bikurim, but he doesn't do bikurim. But now the Gemara questions like, can you just bring bikurim out of suffix? Can you do that? Can you, if you're not sure if these fruits are chayim bikurim, you could just bring bikurim out of suffix? But shouldn't we be concerned that, well, there's a chance that these fruits are not chayim bikurim, which means that he's going to be bringing these fruits to the Beis HaMikdash as bikurim, but they're not actually bikurim. They're chulin, and he's bringing chulin into the Beis HaMikdash, into the Azar. They come aktishlu. Well, he's maktish them. So mimanav shach. If they're bikurim, so he's bringing bikurim into the Beis HaMikdash. If they're not bikurim, well, he's maktish them. He made them aktish, so they're not chulin. So he can bring them into the Beis HaMikdash. What about the fact that the kohen is going to eat them? You can't eat hektish. You can eat bikurim, but hektish, you don't eat hektish. You're poda hektish. The paraklu. Well, he was poda before the kohen ate it. Okay. V'dilma lab bikurim ninu. Okay, but what happens if? So let's say they aren't bikurim. V'kamafgalu mitruma umaiser. But here's the thing: bikurim is considered like truma, so it's not. You don't have to separate truma semaisers from bikurim. So if he's going to bring them as bikurim misafek, so then he's not going to separate truma semaisers. But there's a chance that they aren't bikurim, in which case they're tevel, and you have to separate truma semaisers. Demafishlu. Well, so he separates the truma semaisers just in case. He separates them. Okay, but still it gets tricky because who are you going to give the truma semaisers to? Because after all, we're not sure, is it bikurim or is it not? Right? So now, right, so you're separating these truma semaisers, but you have to be careful who you're going to give them to, because just in case they're bikurim, you can't give bikurim to a non-kohen. So truma gedola yoiv la l'kohen. Okay, so basically he separates truma gedola and he gives it to the kohen. So either way, you can eat bikurim, you can eat truma gedola. Meiser sheni nam yoiv la l'kohen. Okay, so the meiser sheni also you can give to the kohen. There's no problem with that. Meiser ani nam yoiv la l'kohen ani. And if it is years 3 or 6 of Shemitah, so there's meiser ani, so give it to a poor kohen. So again, if it's true, if it's bikurim, fine. If it's meiser ani, also fine. But Meiser Rishon, however, goes to the Levi. So that's tricky, because if it is in fact bikurim, you can't give it to Levi. Levi can't eat bikurim. And if it is, and if it's Meiser, if it's not bikurim, so he's separating Meiser Rishon, well, then he can't give that to the Kohen. Because it's Meiser Rishon. Meiser Rishon goes to Levi. So who does he give it to? He can't give it to Levi because maybe it's Truma. He can't give it to the Kohen because maybe it's Chulin. And therefore it's Meiser Rishon. It goes to the Levi, not to the Kohen. So the Yoiv le the Kohen Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He gives it to the Kohen like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He gives Meiser Rishon to the Kohen like the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The Tanya that we learned in the Brayse, we learned this in Yevamis. Truma Gedola le Kohen, Meiser Rishon le Levi. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabbi Akiva, Truma Gedola goes to the Kohen, Meiser Rishon goes to the Levi, and that's that. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer Meiser Rishon lekohen. Whereas Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that the Meiser Rishon can be given to, or is dafka given to the kohen. Right? This was because in the second temple, the Leviim, I guess, didn't come to Yerushalayim so quickly or at all, and therefore, as a punishment, the zuchus to the Ezra, I believe, made a takana that the Meiser Rishon would be given to, not to the Leviim anymore, but rather to the Kohanim. So it says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that the Meiser Rishon would be given to the Kohanim, so therefore you can give Meiser Rishon to the Kohanim as well, and that is not a problem. Although, that really only works like in the second Beis HaMikdash. The first Beis HaMikdash, that wasn't Shaykh, and also in the Bayis Shlishi, She Tibon v'Tikoinen b'Meir v'Yameinu Amen. I guess this won't be an issue, so Meiser Rishon should probably go to the Kohen once again. Hakoponim. So v'dilma bikurim ninu uva'u kriya. Okay, but still, what about the fact that again, we are uncertain if these are bikurim or not. We're not certain if they're bikurim or not. So if they're not bikurim, then obviously you don't have to do mikra bikurim. But if they are bikurim, well then you're going to have to do mikra bikurim, right? Meaning we're saying, bring the bikurim, but just don't do mikra bikurim. But I understand it. We're talking about a situation where we're not sure if they're bikurim or not. So if they're not bikurim, okay, great. So you're not doing mikra bikurim. They're not bikurim. But if they are bikurim, then you have to do mikra bikurim. So how can you just say, just bring the bikurim and don't do mikra bikurim? You have to do mikra bikurim. So and for the Gemara, kriya loy me'akeves, that, well, whether if you don't do mikra bikurim, you're still yotze for doing bikurim. It's not ma'akev. You're still yotze the mitzvah of bikurim even if you don't do mikra bikurim. Vilo, but is that so? That mikra bikurim is not ma'akev, just like that? V'amar Reb Zeire. Reb Zeire says, we've seen this maybe a few times already. Let's see. Kiddushin, Yevamis, Nidarim. So this is probably the 4th time we're seeing it. V'amar Reb Zeire kol aroi lebila ein bila me'akeves boy v'she'enu roi lebila bila me'akeves bo. Gewaldig. Givaldig. Kol aroi lebila ein bila ma'akeves bo, v'she'en aroi lebila bila ma'akeves bo. What does that mean? It means that, so this is a principle from Menachis, that Menachis for, was it 60 saw of flour or something? What is it? Let's see, where can I find it? Shishim. Yeah, okay. Okay. So maybe Shishim ve'echad. Wait, what was it? Shishim what? Shishim, okay. Shishim Isaron. Esronim. Alright. 60 Isarons. So if you have 60 Isarons of flour, and then you add like oil and stuff, and Bila I think is like mixing it all together. So, Givaldig. So you can put up to, I guess, 60 Isarons of flour in a korban mincha, but not 61. Because if you put in 61, then it's not all going to get mixed together good. The thing is that when you have 60 isarons, if you don't do the bila, if you don't mix it together, so it's not actually ma'akiv, it's still kosher. So why not just throw in the extra? Why not just do 61? And okay, you can't do bila because it's not, the ratios are going to be off, but who cares? It's not ma'akiv anyways. The point is, look, it has to be ro'i lebila. You have to at least be in a position where it is where you can do bila. Now, once you can do bila, so then even if you don't, so you're still yotze. But to set yourself up for failure milichatchila, to set up a situation where it's not even shaykh to do bila, because the ratios are completely off, that's a problem. So here, sure, a person who has a chiyuv to do bikurim, and he brings his bikurim, and for whatever reason he didn't end up doing mikra bikurim. Okay, he's yotzei. But milichatchila, to set up a situation to say, well, I'm just going to bring bikurim out of Suffolk, and I can't do mikra bikurim because I don't know if it's really bikurim or not. Therefore, mikra bikurim is out of the picture milichatchila. We're going to say no. That's not okay. You have to do mikra bikurim. Mikra bikurim is something that you have to do. You bring your bikurim, you do mikra bikurim. If you didn't, okay, but you didn't do it. But to set yourself up milichatchila for a scenario where it's impossible to do mikra bikurim, then we're going to say no. That is not acceptable. Mikra bikurim is an integral, is part of bikurim. You have to at least be, set yourself up to do mikra bikurim. If you don't know to do it, beseder. You can't have a situation. It's like lichatchila b'diavad, almost like, right? Keilu like, okay, b'diavad if whatever, but you can't milichatchila set up a situation where mikra bikurim is going to be undoable. So, and for the Gemara, it's such I love that, it's such an interesting concept. It's like, I don't know, I'm like having a hard time like expressing the beauty of it, but it's like, you have to like set yourself, you have to like set it up in the proper way. Milichatchila. Once it's set up in the proper way, then there's like wiggle room. But to set up something milichatchila, inadequately, then that's a problem. Okay, this is like a cool. I don't know, there's something very sweet about that perspective. Okay, where am I? Okay, yeah, enochinami. What he does is he does like Rabbi Yosef Bab Chanin the Amr who says Batzun v'shigron biad shaliach, that if the owner of the field harvest, I think Botzer is by grapes, I think. So if he harvests his grapes, so he harvests the grapes and then he sends with a messenger to bring the bikurim to Yerushalayim. Alternatively, if a messenger harvested them and he was going to bring them to Yerushalayim, but then he died and then somebody else had to take them for the rest of the journey, maybe ve'eno koreh. So in that case, he brings the bikurim, but he doesn't. The halacha is he doesn't do mikra bikurim in that case. My time outcome because the pasuk says v'lakachta ve'veisa achday lekicha v'avo ke'echod v'aleka. You need the harvesting and the bringing of the first fruits to Yerushalayim to be by the same person. Right, the same person who harvested needs to be the one to bring it to Yerushalayim, and if two people do it, then you wouldn't do mikra bikurim. And therefore, what you could do is, in this case, when it's besafek of whether you should be bringing bikurim or not, what you should do is you should have one person harvest it, somebody else bring it to Yerushalayim, And then in Mela it won't, the halacha is, it won't be shaykh to mikra bikurim. So do it that way so it's not exactly like, the other case where you're like, milchatchila doing something inadequately. The halacha is that in such a case, there's no mikra bikurim. So do that. As opposed to like a suffix, put yourself into a suffix where like, you might need to do it, but you can't because like that's a mess. But here, okay, the halacha is simply you don't do mikra bikurim, so do that. So if Acha breder of Ashi michtei psukin inu likre. So if Acha breder of Avi asked of Ashi, what's the big deal? Why are we making such a big deal of mikra bikurim? It's psukim in the Torah. Rami Ovid Avi Vayered Mitzrayma, etc. Let him read the psukim. Who cares? Omar lei. So Rav Ashi answers Mishum Nemechzek is shikra. Because if he's not, there's a reason why he's not doing mikra bikurim. The answer is because he doesn't own the land. So just to suggest to somebody, well, just read the psukim. The psukim have meaning. He's thanking Hashem for the land that He gave him, but he doesn't own the land. So he looks like a liar. He shouldn't do it. Rav Mashaysh breder of Chia Omar Dilma Asi Lafkoinu Michuma Umaiser. Alternatively, if everything seems so official, he's bringing this stuff that he's memele besafik about, and he's even doing mikra bikurim, he or somebody else who's watching might get confused and thinking that this is the real thing, and think that it's going to be potter from Trumas Amaisus. So therefore, in order to make it clear that this is an under azach, that this is besafik, don't read the psukim. Givaldik. That was our peyal of Masechta BavaBasra. We finally got to this Mishnah about, and we're going to continue on this tomorrow. Okay, and talking about when you buy 2 trees in a field, 3 trees in a field, that kind of stuff. Those halachas that have come up in the past, and peace out.